Well, I probably won't notice that anyway, so it's fine. And, yeah, greetings, for it is I, Vinterlin. And, I'm doing, sub-chapter 9 now, so, yeah. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong, Kichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? Seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand there, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold, I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed the date, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the past couple of days because I really didn't have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually meet up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. I had to have had If I had to have been my cold, it just had to be. I'll rest, sorry. Then I'll send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit. It was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. It's happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They'd probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said, the insurance card is in the cabinet, take it and go to the hospital. There's also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right, I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning. And just in case, I went to the hospital. Normally I would never be here, in the middle of a weekend, a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital's sign came into view. Ivy Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Himizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. Does that mean making money? I passed out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Mabara-san, please make your way to the examination room. After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with this old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. If it just wasn't for that word. Must have been an Onikakushi. I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with the big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? Was I talking about Tommy-san? I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit your job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face, I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san. That woman with Tommy-san. And she worked at this clinic. Oh yeah, Shiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Arishiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Arishiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Himizawa. As long as I was in Himizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around peeved. Mabata-san, good day to you. It was Yushi. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on break? And just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after getting home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of those local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Ushi-san's roundabout way of saying things. If I wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Himizawa. I went with Ushi-san riding in his rigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rina, who had been listening to the conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now in the brightness of the sunlight, that thought still creeps me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city suddenly changed from dirt to pavement. My head swerved back with a sudden realization. That's right, this is where Tommy-san died. They have hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tommy-san. Uchi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. I believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing at his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time, where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces. It exists. Psychocolic something or whatever. Well, it's pretty common, but you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tommy-Taxan to react like that. Then, you're saying the police conducted Tommy-Taxan just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feel like that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be, dissociated from Tommy-Taxan's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. That made me feel a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Himizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Uchi into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2 please, non-smoking. This way please. When you are ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table, aside with Ushi-san in the booth. Ba 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 da. So what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. The shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Ushi-san, you're leering. Am I really? Ba da ba da ba ba da ba ba da ba 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 da. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, food was pretty decent. Finishing our meals while talking about someone's inane topic, Ushi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Himizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that. It was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Ushi-chan took out his notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Himizawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogre's Curse. Onikakushi. That's quite the name. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is so called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. Of respect born of fear, I guess you could say it was kind of defecation. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were senin or mountain-dwelling mystics of some sort. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu long-nosed goblins or senin would be a more apt description. Then they don't seem like terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons, according to the story my grandmother told me. As payment for treating their son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here was apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself. That's unsettling. Of course the mother took her son and ran. Then you see, all the people who lived in Onikakushi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up and captured them. The entire village. Apparently, that's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh? But there are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Ushi-san's laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onikakushi banded together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally they hunted down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Uchi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hold up in your home and hide under the cover, she said. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. What's the criteria? Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all of the villagers' families. It wasn't the whole village, it was convincible that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't there? I didn't dare speak here. Then Uchi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or group of villagers perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, Mabara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Uchi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Mabara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of a background checking done on them. If Uchi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since he told me earlier not to suspect my friend. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid, Mabara-san, and if you feel that stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Uchi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I've ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regret hearing from Uchi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Kichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Uchi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victims of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had a altercation with Mian Shinozaki-san. Multiple altercations. Uchi-san had said before that Mian had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she would be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter, her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko meaning Satoko? Uchi-san's look that told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see. The daughter is Rika Furudu-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year. You know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. The one that disappeared the fourth year, by the way, he was Satoko-san's older brother. What just, wait a second. It took everything I had to finally say it. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Kechimabara. But Uchi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Bada-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mian, Satoko, Rika-chan. So what if they're connected? You're telling me all my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rina is different, isn't she? Rina isn't connected with the victims at all. Rina Higura was living in a suburb of Ibaraki preference up until last year. Well, the truth, she didn't have any directly met any of the victims. Said in a roundabout way, is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her before. Uh, I looked into her before Rina San moved away to Himizawa. She was suspended from school. Seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Rina did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same silly Rina had. I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. Autonomia. Autonomia. She was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. You know those match Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rina-san. It showed up, and quite a bit after that, what did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Orishiro-sama. It felt like someone's stone, cold hands were caressing my back. Why? Why had Rina spoken of Orishiro-sama before she even came to Himizawa? Seems that the Orishiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that she moved to Himizawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to their residentiary register, the Higurashi family used to reside in Himizawa. Rina-san moved to Ibar Ibar Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you would see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Bada-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Rina then. How about the last victim, Tomitake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final, respire. All of them. Have you forgotten about Bada-san? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I felt silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Bada-san, did you take your afternoon medication? I'd completely forgotten about the medication I had gotten today until Ushi-san said that. I got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got into the car and returned to Himizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars usually shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. Badump. That big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Ushi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidences. But why do you have to tell me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Ushi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Ushi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Ushi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm recruiting this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So Ushi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Ushi-san didn't really give a response. Felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from the 30 years on this job. Bada-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with, that was absurd, but in my in trodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Onikakushi next year, so I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Onikakushi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. This incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Himizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? We arrived where? At my house? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. Clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. Chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forget everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Onishida-sama's curse this year, so you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Mabara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Ushi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn, disappeared into a cloud of kick-up dust. Felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Ushi-san was being fair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happens. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator, or was it really just Orishino-sama's curse? Either way, bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it. I don't want to die. For some reason, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Higurashi, when they cry. I wonder how much time has passed since I lay down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It'd probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called me many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is the Mabara residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello. This is Mion. How are you doing? Is this one of Kikuchi's friends? Kichi is resting right now, but should I put him on hold? Huh? Is this his dad? Aha, sorry, but idiot, you fell for it, huh? Kikuchi-chan? After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together, except I was suspicious of her, even as we were laughing. Was everyone really involved in the incidences? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Rina was really worried, you know. Totoko-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said how unfortunate he's sick. Huh? It was like everyone was making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, so, Ki-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay, it's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Rina and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya! Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Rina's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rina, but I guess if she was with Mion. Ba ba da ba 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 da da. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Thank goodness you look well, I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rina looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. Huh? You don't say. See, my face appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Kikuchi-kun. These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made. Rina held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mian. Yep. Oh, there's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Ketchi-kun can guess which one. This is Ki-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mi-chan, you shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entrance aid was a mess. You're right, let's get going. Oh, by the way, Ki-chan, yeah? What did you eat for lunch? Sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mian. I'd never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane. It was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. You must have suspected that I was with Ushi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they would read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Ketchi-kun? The glimmer from Rina's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if made to make me feel the frank ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew that's how it looked to me. Was it good? Or why are you asking me this? Mia was speaking in an unusually low voice, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There's no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with a rather, Astra-looking older guy. Who was he? Blop. The package with the mooch I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh, Ketchi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything. How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mian sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Ki-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you got pretty worked up over it too. We weren't talking about anything, you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rina. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up, even though no one asked about that, Rina's unwavering gaze pierced through me, and peered further inside of me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much, it felt like I was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man has already seen through it. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine. She tilted her head slightly. Ketchi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way back. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the packet of mochi. As I left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was about to close, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mian's hawkish gaze peers at me once again. See you, Ki-chan. Yeah, I would hate it if you missed school tomorrow, right? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laugh died off into the distance, and silence again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew that what Uchi-san and I talked about. Why? How? Now, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Uchi-san met me. Says Mion said I couldn't hide anything. And what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Ushi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that wasn't necessary. What was it that Ushi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Orishida-sama's curse that occurred? Every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole. As well as the fact that there were multiple perpetrators hidden within Himizawa. No more precisely, that Mion, Rina, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me up from this nightmare. For some reason it felt like I was puncturing a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Kakashi Mabata. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, settle down, and sort things out. The reason me and you I was eating out for lunch with Ushi was probably because someone from Himizawa just happened to be there at that time. They must have told me that was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask you where ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone else from Himizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. Yeah, that's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rina. I was just being strangely, ambiguous about it. About when I met Ushi-san. Rina was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rina and was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red manure sauce would have been poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending this time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rina was really kind and everyone looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person since she didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same too. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent, but they're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of himself, Ushi-san, and Tomitake-san, when I was told about Orishida-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Ushi-san that Mion, Rina, and Satoko and Rika were all suspicious, I thought everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Uchi-san told me all that strange stuff. At the time I really should have just not listened to those strange stories. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents of Tomitake-san, the nerve that was Higurashi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity, if I just hadn't. That's right. But that's why they killed Tomitake-san. That impotent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everyone went out their way to keep the secrets from me. They'll probably Uchi-san as well, for trying to unearth that what everyone was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable, for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be released. Both Tomitake-san and Uchi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Himizawa. Those guys should just fall to Orishida-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I'd just woken up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It has to be fun. I was one of them after all. That reminds me, I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rina made. I remembered the home of the two brought with them when they visited me, but wow, our club did deliver. That was something else. I picked up the package, I dropped it on the floor, and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump, red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There was letters written left to right on the newspapers A, B, C, D, E. Now then, said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much of a difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The big difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandmother was, but Rena had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one of the mochi that was made very neatly, so well that just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion said that her grandmother made tons of them, and was told to give some out if I remembered correctly. So that means 4 of these were from that large batch. And what about Rena's? You probably only made one. So she spent quite a bit of time on it, meaning the one Rena made uh, had made with this one, E. Was this one E? The moment I thought it may have been a trap Mian laid, as she knew I'd pick up on that. But that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mian had made it. But since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandmother. Let's see. Not bad. Smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also articulated the experience. This was quite an exquisite piece of work. Now how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of this portion, but well, first a bite. This was quite difficult to judge actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was a little difference in flavour. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. If I had one bite of Rena's, I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Choo choo. I think that my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What is this? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend where it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. I slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. After sticking for a moment, it slid down the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act, and remembered what I had taken out my mouth. First I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long, and it wasn't this short. It was almost too hard to be a hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah yes, there was a hole where thread goes through it, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle, exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't starve off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in my throat and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. Sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both of my hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat, splot, splot. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. Why the wall? Geometric patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clenched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, and sadness and frustration. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder, nothing as simple as that. What happened in Himizawa? What's happening in Himizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless now, Rina and Mia and the others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Higurashi, when they cry. Hard to swallow. Enjoy a homemade snack. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? I don't know. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. That's quite a roundabout response. You're saying that there's one that does it indirectly sometimes? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state like that. That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are more likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorders are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive, depressed state and accompanied by a very active, manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to commit suicide. It has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when this condition changes, they might do so. There is the desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, as they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. When they enter mania, they gain a sudden burst of willpower, and their body moves as they desire. I see. It means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then, was Tommy Tak bipolar? People suffering from bipolar generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as as though as though going through withdrawal is completely different. Tommy Tak's death wasn't civilized. So one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, Tommy of a drug that would cause someone to commit suicide. There are reports that a methamphetamine overdose produces a condition that resembles bipolar disorder as a stimulant. Barbiturate overdose are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleeping aid. There was no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is some kind of illness, something like Graves' disorder, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The disease exhibits none of them. I wonder if it's something that could happen more spontaneously, something that fits this case and would cause someone to commit suicide all of a sudden. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs. It can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalocele or stroke or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. It could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain in simpler terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in the bowl, and that made him go haywire. Nah. And his lady didn't have any intent to kill, just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed forcefully. But of course it's not like that. Ahem. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. Da 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 da. Threat. Threat. Huh? Those guys just now? They had national diet badges. Then there's prefectural assembly member and city councillor Shunazaki. That's interesting. The professional professional assembly member and city councillor are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting at each other's names during elections. While one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly and they double up their campaign activities blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior constellation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty rough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division, cause I'm dumb. There was a professional assembly member Shinazaki and city councillor Shinazaki, also the mayor of Himizawa. All of them were involved with the Shinazaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. It came to me. At night when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. You have quite a lot of connections, so you might have heard something, did you? Nope, not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take tofu frifta and fish cake. The councillor barked at me in the police chief's seat instead. Oh my, is that so? Well, I'll take another bowl. Professional assembly member Shinazaki and city council Shinazaki were both intimidating. A snot-nosed Korea police chief couldn't even hold a candle being yelled at like they were Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Himizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me? I have not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Himizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Toritex death actually. Really? If that's true then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drinks. Phew, that was quite the feast. This mouth has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. Nah, I haven't been doing well here lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi. I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it would be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were ready to go. Goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy New Year's. Ushi-san. Yeah? Past incidences have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're gonna retire next year, aren't you? Aren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to, Hokkino Dio with your mom? Mother, pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I could do. And the pension, well, they'll let me enjoy myself in Susekino. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get raised before retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated, and you'd get a heavy surplus of funds. It tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not custom. That's sort of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief. But well, they say our salary is comprehension for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. That's not something I could laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary. But given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well of course I'd want it. Nah. Well, you'll get it, you're an adult after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly. It interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. Looking at the chief still had something to say, but he smiled wearily and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gracefully and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Haha. Oh man, I wonder if I really can repay that loan. And yeah, I guess that's it. So that's up chapter 9 of Higurashi chapter 1. So bye bye. Bye.